Quick request video. Gematria. You can assign a numerical value to a letter. That's what we do on the internet with binary and on computers. You can also assign it a pattern that's similar to a number, like Morse code, can be converted to a numerical value in binary, or into a pattern of dots, 6 of them, as a 6-bit code that you would use for the blind, called Braille. You can therefore form words and phrases this way. But to reduce a word or sentence down to a simple numerical value, and then say that this has something to do with the same pattern that you would find in other words, breaks things. The number 56 is what you get if you use all caps for skeleton key and unopenable lock. They have literally opposite meanings. But that doesn't bother people who want to use this, because obviously you could use that to encode numbers. You could pick phrasings that are just slightly different to juggle the numbers, so you could put numbers into sentences or stanzas or just words. Well, the words are a little difficult, so you'd have to use phrases to actually encode something to be seen later by somebody who is supposedly brilliant and intuitive and can divine things. The belief that these numerical values bear some relation to each other, or that the number itself, as it may appear, apply to anything meaningful, is probably crap, but let's try a simple one. The following two expressions are literally opposite of each other, have the same value because they have the same letters and punctuation, and it doesn't matter what the pattern is. Someone will come up with a phrasing so that they can do something with this, but I'm going to bring up an explanation for this. John is guilty while Mary is innocent is the same as Mary is guilty while John is innocent, mathematically and numerically. It's the same altered numerological quantity you derive from the sentence. But when done as a string of the actual number this represents in binary, they are completely unique, unambiguous, and cannot be misinterpreted. John's guilty, Mary's innocent. Or Mary is guilty, John is innocent. You could also have it in John while Mary is guilty is innocent. You can do all sorts of nonsensical patterns. If you're just trying to hide number values to hold something, you can juggle a sentence to create these numbers, especially if you do an overflow function by just limiting it to 26 characters or whatever your characters of the alphabet is, so that as it goes above a certain number like 27, that would immediately switch back to the value of 1. This would allow you to literally encode things, and this is actually a method that is used for encoding data. This has been done before. It's very, very simple. And it's done very easily. But when you do this as a string, they have another ability. It's a binary string. It could be limited to 26 characters. Well, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 5 bits is all you need. So you could take these characters, convert them into 5-bit code, and then chop them back up into 8-bit code or just a number value. You can encode all sorts of things. It depends on the interpretation. And this is exactly what you hear from people who say that they can do Bible codes, which is what we're really talking about here. The uniqueness and preservation of meaning is a useful action. But if you're trying to encode something in here, having it end up with a number like 666 because you want that number to come up, that's kind of interesting. Divining a series of messages demonstrating foreknowledge and prophecy can easily be done by somebody deciding what they wanted to be predicted by something 2,000 years ago. Like, let's say, Obama is Satan. Let's just do that. Okay. So you'd come up with a numerical value for it and look for anything else that matched. And then say, see, I found it. Even though that same sequence would have the same number value of some other expression, like Obama is good. Or hundreds of other words in the English language which didn't exist at all at that time. Well, divination works in mysterious ways. No. This is a random number generator, or more accurately, an anti-random number generator. I'm going to explain something to you. In the old days, when you'd have a floppy disk formatted on your computer, it would create a unique, non-repeating, non-reproducible serial number based on a random seed usually derived from the timer, and checking times like how fast it takes the hard drive or floppy drive head to move back and forth or some other thing. And it would create a random sequence of numbers so that each disk would be very likely to have a unique serial number, so that if you put them in, it could identify that it was the specific disk. It would be very likely to be the correct one. There was no way to go from that number backwards. It's a non-reversible process. You can't figure out what the original input was unless you know what it is and all of the characteristics about it. This is also how we do SSL encryption and that sort of thing. And it doesn't dawn on anybody that if anybody hid an absolutely important, powerful message in the Bible, or whatever you want to believe it is, it would really help if people didn't rewrite it every few hundred years to fit some political or ideological goal. It would help if an entire judgmental council didn't remove huge portions of the Bible or declare parts of them verboten or add stuff in. Oh, that's right. The Bible you read now has nothing to do with the original one. Has it been translated into Klingon? That's an actual official translatable language now. Klingon. There's a Bible in Klingon. Yes, I saw someone using the Klingon version of the Bible to get a point across that he wanted to say Hillary Clinton was evil or something. When you see people do this kind of crazy crap, but it still gives you results in fucking Klingon, you start really taking them not even a little bit seriously. It's a game. Decoding from words and phrases supposedly alleged to exist within the Bible text originally, but they'll look at the same sequence each time and give you whatever answer you want. Cold reading. I'm only doing this because this has turned out to be a massive dead end. It's a good source for random numbers. It's a good way to have a seed code for making some random string that you might use for Minecraft. No, I'm not joking about that. But other than the absolute randomness, you can find whatever you're looking for, you just have to dig deeper. Well, in this line at the blah, 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 and then I even saw one person using a text version of whatever Bible it was. But he didn't exclude the margin data. The margin data is where it puts in page number, authorship, the company that printed that version of the Bible or did the encryption. He got the phrase out and he said, it's on this page on this line. Well, there isn't anything on that line in my Bible. And then someone pointed out, you used an online version of the Bible that you downloaded. It included the company that printed it, the printing house. You're literally reading a Bible code from a printing house identifier stack on one of the pages. It was just an insert. They watermarked it or whatever. So he literally derived some holy prediction about the end times because it said copyright 2002. And then he doubled down about it when they pointed that out, and he just said, well, I'm sticking with it. What happens is if you want to, you can play a simple game. Type in any nonsensical shit and see if you can derive it. You will. You can find anything you want to using these weird ciphers that you just keep trying ciphers until you get what you want. That's all. It'll mention any name you want. It'll mention anything. In fact, there was a simple paper done where someone created random character strings that have no meaning. And they were able to Bible decode this. This also includes people just reinterpreting the words so they get the right answer that they're looking for. Well, it's close enough, but it's not the same value. We don't care. So when you get that level of practitioner, where it really doesn't even matter, they could be reading it from anything. You can use Moby Dick and get the same blasted results if you really want to. And when they double down about it, because you can catch them if you look at them, eventually if you watch the earliest video and later videos, the person will look at the same sequence and say it has a totally different meaning later on because they want it to. I mean, the Bible is not an infinitely large document. And again, it's been re-edited hundreds of times by now. If you want to use the original Hebrew, which some of them actually dare to do, that's fine. That would, or whatever. But again, those are derivational works. We don't really have the original copies in most cases, but okay, if they do that, that at least keeps it consistent. But consistency is a bad thing if you're making up bullshit lies like this. And they run into the same phrase and give it two totally different meanings a year later because they forgot they did that. I guess forgetfulness or having a short memory is valuable when you're doing magic tricks and parlor tricks. And yes, there are people who have this part of their belief system, it's part of their religion. I don't care. Now, on the other end of it, in computers, we use ASCII characters. They have a specific numerical value. It doesn't start at 0. 0 is not used. It has a bunch of characters that were used for positioning, printout, for printing things and for putting stuff on the screen. And you can have any cipher set you want. And you can do anything you want to. There's no problem with it. The problem comes from giving it a value that doesn't mean anything, or removing any meaning of it. Again, an expression that says John is guilty or is John guilty has the same numerical value. Mary is innocent, is Mary innocent, have different meanings, and they have the same numerical value when you run them that way. And this doesn't really help. Unopenable lock equals skeleton key. No, it does not. Now again, if somebody wanted to hide a message in there, you'd have to have the real key method. But everyone you see on the internet uses different keys at different times because they're trying to produce some specific outcome. It always falls in line with their ideological and religious and moral beliefs. It never says to them, you're wrong about your beliefs, you've been fooled your entire life. I think there would be a greater reliance on their ability to divine fact if it would tell them every once in a while they were wrong. They're never wrong. None of them ever do anything that hurts their ego. This is a pattern of behavior. I think there might be one that has actually said that, but all he said was he was wrong about his interpretation of something before because the news changed and he found out he was wrong about what he predicted. He made a prediction that was real, that had a reality basis. It didn't come to fruition, and he didn't want to look bad, so he just said he misinterpreted things. There's always an excuse to make sure that you're not wrong somehow, even when you're admitting it. And on a side note, people like me who understand binary and computer work know how to recognize some patterns too. I mean, there are some. Most of the time you can't find any patterns. We can see sometimes that there is a pattern, that there is some attempt to encode or compress. If you want to really learn about this stuff, learn about ciphertext and actual ciphers, not this bullshit. Prove that you can solve a cipher created by a human being and not claim that only gods can teach you how to do this. No, it's just normal people can do ciphers and you can decipher. If you can't decipher something that a 14-year-old kid made 5 years ago on some web board and get it right to prove that you can actually do this, or at least follow the rule set to figure it out, then you really can't say that you're following some mysterious God-guided set of rules to really interpreting the meaning of the Bible. And I find it annoying that a lot of these people, not just getting the information wrong or using some sort of copyright statement by accident, I find it very annoying that they literally misinterpret the meaning of the Bible itself, or any text. It's like a person doesn't give a shit about being literate. They give a shit about appearing to be better than everybody. They're elitists. That's not just an opinion about the whole subject. It's mostly based on what these individuals do. The subject matter is quite useful, but it's easy enough to do for something really simple you can do at home. Do ciphertext in ordinary text and prove to yourself that this will or will not work. Just go ahead and do it. And do you really have the ability to make a set of meanings? Remember, the first thing you're going to do is look for meanings that make sense. You're not going to pay attention to every time it shows you that it's nonsensical bullshit. You're going to look for meaning. In a cloud of the reality telling you this is bullshit, you'll ignore it and see yourself. You'll see your ego. And these people are always guilty of it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. If anybody has a good example, go ahead and post it. But I'm not letting it post unless these people do some basics and have some humility. Good day.